Peace be upon you. In today's talk, I want to talk about depression. Now, as someone who has suffered from depression, and after being guided by God and gaining knowledge from the Qur'an, I have come to the realization that depression is actually not a bad thing. It is a good thing. And in this society that we are living in, this sick society, this decaying society where their morality is non-existent now, more and more people are facing this monster depression, and they are told that there's something wrong with them and that they need to adjust and be happy, etc., etc. But actually, the fact of the matter is that being adjusted to a sick society is no sign of health. And those people who are adjusted, who are happy in this sick society, are actually very far astray from the path of God. And I wanted to bring to you some verses from the Quran to support this assertion. We read in the Quran, this is chapter 10, verse 7. Those who look not for the meeting with us and are pleased with the life of this world and are at rest therein, and those who are heedless of our proofs, those their shelter is hell for what they earned. That's verse 8. So right off the bat, we're not talking about Muslims, Christians, Hindus, or whatever. We're just talking about people. God is saying that those who do not look for the meeting with God, they don't look forward to the day of judgment, they don't believe in it, or they're not 100% convinced, and they are pleased with the life of this world. So these people are pleased. They don't suffer through depression. For them, it's a simple calculus that the more they accumulate, the happier they become, and are rest there, and they are happy in this life, and they would wish that each of them would be granted 1,000 years. This is their thinking, and that they want more from the life as much as they can. And those who are heedless of our proofs. Now, the proofs in the Quran, the word ayat, as I mentioned before, it's not only referring to the verses of the Quran, it's also referring to the external proofs of God, as in the sun, the moon, the creation of the heavens and the earth, the creation of man. These are all proofs of God. So these people are heedless of the proofs of God. They don't really try to understand the bigger picture of what they are, who they are, why they came to be, and what the Creator wants for them. To them, it's all about their own vain desires. When they have taken their vain desires as gods, then for them the shelter is hell, because that's what they have earned. So the Quran is clear on this aspect. So that means that those people who are looking to meet God, who are expecting this encounter with God on the day of judgment, and are not pleased with the life of this world, and are not at rest therein, and those who are cognizant of God's proofs, their shelter is Jannah, heaven, garden. This is the understanding that you get from this set of verses. There's other verses too that I will bring about, but first I wanted to go back and talk a little bit about depression. Now, I've suffered through depression for most of my life, and it was this depression, this existential doubt, the search for meaning, that spurred my journey, if you will, towards God, towards the one God alone, and finally to the Quran. Now, this is not because I was searching for God and then, I found God. God actually was guiding me to His path. And this depression, I think, played a very major role in that, because if I would have been content at the life of this world, as most people are, those people around you who are, I would never have looked into what the Quran has to say, and if God actually exists. These sort of questions you will see most people are not interested in, because again, they are happy in their lives, their hearts are sealed by God, and so they don't understand, or they don't think that there is a higher purpose to man's existence. Now, this is interesting here. Now, I wanted to preface this by saying that the gods of society today, even though we claim to not be worshipping gods as in the olden times where they were idols, etc., etc., but actually we do have gods in the society. They're more of an abstract nature. For example, the god of money, wealth, the god of power, the god of fame, the god of materialism. these are all gods. Our vain desire, what we want, this ego, this is also a god. So with that being said, let's look at another place in the Quran. This is chapter 25, and we're going to be looking at verses 41 through 44. And when they see thee, they only take thee in mockery. Is this he whom God sent as a messenger? He had almost led us astray from our gods. Were we not steadfast towards them? And they will know when they see the punishment who is further astray in the path. Hast thou seen him who has taken as his God his vain desire? Wouldst thou then be a guardian over him? If thou thinkest that most of them hear or reason, they are only as the cattle, nay, they are further astray in the path. So, people, when they are told that there is only one God and that you should worship him or serve him, then they are not inclined towards that path, because that would mean that they would have to abandon their gods. Like I said, the pursuit of wealth, the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of material things. These are their gods. And finally, the vain desire, that I can do what I want and I'm not responsible for my actions to anyone. I don't have to give account. Actually, you will have to give account on the day of judgment. That's the fact. So anyway, these people, it says, God says, if thou thinkest, you need to observe. You need to observe. Do you think that most of them, the people you meet on a daily basis, if they hear or reason, they're not hearing or reason, they're not using these faculties, they're just going through life in sort of autopilot. They are only as the cattle. So these people are like the cattle. Nay, they are further astray in the path. So what I wanted to tell you, I guess, in this video is that do not despair if you are in depression or your life is not going the way that you think it should. We do not know what is best for us. God knows what is best for us. And this is quite clear from the Quran. We read here in chapter 2, verse 216, and I'm going to extrapolate what it says here in our context. It says, fighting is prescribed for you, though it be hateful to you. And it may be that you hate a thing, and it is good for you. And it may be that you love a thing, and it is bad for you. And God knows, and you know not. So here the context is fighting. But if we extrapolate this, a lot of times what we think is good for us, wealth or getting married to someone, falling in love, or getting into this university, or etc., that is good for us, but in reality it might be bad for us. And so we shouldn't be pining over things that didn't turn out the way we wanted. In that is maybe there's, in Urdu it's called maslahat. It means that it's God's will. And since he is the all-wise, the all-knowing, that it is better for you that you do not get something. This is really what we get out of this. Everything all in this life, what we see is not what it actually is, what the reality is what I'm trying to get across to you. You have to observe and you have to submit to the will of God. And, that goes a long way towards, alleviating this depression. But the depression is a spiritual sickness in the sense that you are seeing what a lot of people are not seeing. It might be subconsciously, you are not aware of it, but you have realized that the life of this world is the enjoyment of delusion. That is only fun and games, and that is only the competition and increase of wealth on children. You are seeing that. Subconsciously, you understand that. So when society is running after these things, you don't see the point of them. So that's the depression. And how to get out of it, the depression, this is something that is the start of a journey. This is not something that you can cure on, in a day or two. But understand that this darkness in your soul is actually impelling you towards a better state. And this is not something that is exclusive to our time. although this sickness is gaining momentum and increasing, because we are living in an increasingly sick society that's getting sicker day by day. But this is something that the prophets and messengers encountered themselves, the depression. And if we look at the story of Abraham in the Qur'an, we can see that this is what happened when he realized that the cult that he was born into, that was worshipping the gods, as in the gods of today, in his time they were more of concrete gods, but he realized that this was false, and then he became sick. And I'll read to you that portion of that. This is in chapter 37, and we're going to read on from verse 83. And of his kind was Abraham. Here, his kind, it's referring to Noah, the messenger Noah. Okay, so actually I'll read a little bit before this so you get a little bit better understanding. Peace be upon Noah among all mankind. Thus reward we the doers of good. He was among our believing servants. Then drowned we the others. Obviously he's talking about the flood. And of his kind was Abraham, when he came to his Lord with a pure heart, or a sound heart, when he said to his father and his people, what do you serve? Is it falsehood, gods besides God you desire? So what is your thought about the Lord of all creation? And he cast a look at the stars and said, I am sick. So he looked at the stars, he looked at the creation of God, the majesty of God, the signs of God, and he became sick because what he was born into, the cult, the worship of gods besides God, and this is depression going on. See, it's not that he became physically sick, because if he was physically sick, he wouldn't do the actions that he did right after that. It says, then they turned away from him and left. Then he turned aside to their gods and said, do you not eat? What ails you that you speak not? And he turned upon them, striking with his right hand. So he, the narrative goes that he struck the biggest idol, and presented the question to his people that they can't even defend themselves, the idols, their gods. Anyway. Here, what I want to bring your attention to it, he said, I am sick. So he was depressed. This was a turning point for Abraham. And obviously, you are probably familiar with chapter 93, which the whole chapter is about the depression that the messenger was going through. And I'll read to you that chapter. It's really small. By the morning light and by the night when it shrouds it in darkness, thy Lord has neither forsaken nor loathed thee. Hated thee is another translation. And the latter will be better for thee than the former. See, the latter, the akhirah. Akhirah is the hereafter. Some people take it in the sense that, this time will pass and you will have better times. But to be truthful, the Qur'an is clear that this life is a test, and you will be tested, and you will encounter good and bad, good and evil. The highs and lows will continue in this life, so don't expect that to change just because you believe in God. But it's giving you knowledge, it's giving you an understanding that this will all come to pass, and the hereafter is the state of bliss. And thy Lord will give to thee, and thou wilt be satisfied. They just talk about him being honored in the garden. Did he not find thee fatherless and give shelter, and find thee astray and guide, and find thee in need and make sufficient? Then as for the fatherless, oppress thou not, and as for the petitioner, repel thou not, and as for the favor of thy Lord, recount thou. So it's clear from here that the messenger of God was also struggling. We had, this, as I said, depression is something that prophets and messengers struggle with, and it is not something that is exclusive to our time and age. The believers in our time and age will be struggling with depression. Now, that's not to say that only believers struggle with depression. A majority of people struggle with depression, and then they turn towards addictions. And God willing, I will make videos on addictions as well. But they turn towards addiction to cope with the depression, which only leads them towards a downward spiral. But the cure for depression is to recount the favor of your Lord, to think about what God has given you. He has given you a good life, and also to worship God, to serve Him, and understand that this life is temporary, to be patient, which is one of the virtues in the Quran. This is how you can alleviate the depression and understand that depression is not a bad thing. Depression is a good thing. This is from the scriptures. And those people who are happy in the life of this world, who have never considered anything else, they don't suffer from depression, and that's true. But because they, for the most part, are heedless, and they are only like the cattle. They don't really understand that there's a higher purpose to which man is being called towards, and to worship his creator, to do good deeds, to be patient, to look for the meeting with God. And so they are the ultimate losers. It's not that, they have it good and that we should pity them. It's not we should think, why am I like this? Why I wish I was happy like that person. Chances are that person is going into the fire, because if that person is happy and he's content in the life of this world, and he just wishes for more, and he gets more too, he's successful, he thinks he is successful, he is actually the loser. And finally, I wanted to leave you with another set of verses from the Quran that, again, solidify or confirm what I've been saying. And this is not something that I've been saying out of my own account. This is from a study of the Quran that I came to this realization. God gave me this knowledge that I'm sharing with you, that depression is not a bad thing. Don't, treat it as something that you need to get rid of. Treat it as a calling for you towards a higher path, towards a higher spiritual striving. A lot of people are not being called to this spiritual path, this higher calling, and that they are content in the life of this world because they are like the cattle. So don't expect them to see or understand. But your God, your Lord, He created you, He understands you, and He is with you, and He's helping you. You just need to be patient and become a better person. This is chapter 17, verses 9 through 11. This Quran guides to what is most upright and brings glad tidings to the believers who do righteous deeds, that they have a great reward, and that those who believe not in the hereafter, we have prepared for them a painful punishment. And man supplicates for evil by his supplication for good, and man is ever hasty. See, that those who do not believe in the hereafter, we're not talking about Muslims, Christians, Hindus, or whatever. Those people who do not believe in the hereafter, and when you interact with people, at least on a more of a personal level, your family members or your extended family or your friends, whether they believe in the hereafter or not, just by observing them, just by listening to what they're saying. Most people don't believe in the hereafter. They claim to do, but they actually don't. They're content in the life of this world. So these people, for them, is a painful punishment. And I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to condemn them. I'm just trying to show you that if you read the Quran and you actually go and observe, you see what the Quran is talking about, your faith increases, first of all. And then second of all, you understand who these people are. And that gives you an idea, okay, these people are going in the fire. I should not, associate with them too much because I might end up like them. This is my own personal understanding. And then finally it says, and man supplicates for evil by his supplication for good, and man is ever hasty. So man is created of haste. He thinks that this former life, he wants everything in it, but he doesn't understand that this is all a test, and that something better awaits us, something everlasting, something permanent, something pure awaits us. If you are in the heaven, in the garden, is that not the greatest achievement? And this life is temporary. You will die. I will die. Everyone dies. So those people who supplicate for good, because they think that wealth and power and prestige and honor and fame and children and all these things, all these material acquisitions that people lust after, that they pray for, they ask for from God. More often than not, they are praying for evil because they are hasty. They don't understand that this life is temporary and all these things are actually a test for us. So This is sort of the understanding that I got from reading the Qur'an, and having lived through depression for a major part of my life, but then making peace with the fact that God has given some people this gift where where they are not content with the life of this world, and they subsequently they look for something more permanent, something that is actually real, and if God wills, He guides them to His straight path. So, God willing, until next time, peace and blessings be upon you.